I want to talk to you today about the most dangerous stories of all. And today I'm talking to you about stories that other people tell us about us. Stories other people tell us about us. So, in this story, I'm going to give you 3 examples of things that happened to me where people used myself to, tear me down. And I'm sure this has happened to you as well, where somebody used things about you to tear you down, to try to prevent you from stepping into your greatness. So when I was in high school, I had a counselor who looked like she was the cutest little grandmother of all. She was about 5 feet tall, maybe 4'11". She wore her hair in a bun. Somebody who would make great cookies and bake good cakes for their grandkids. And so I decided that I wanted to go into information technology. I wanted to learn about computers. And so I went to my counselor and I said, I want to go to the computer classes. And she looked at me and she said, I'm looking at your math scores, and your math scores are not very good. I don't think you should be going to any computer training classes. As a matter of fact, when you grow up, the only thing you're going to be is a flunky anyway. So I think you should just take typing classes and learn how to be a secretary. And to a kid who feels like the world is at their feet and they're excited about it, for somebody to take that and just try to choke the life out of you, to me, is an atrocity. Here I am, this young person who just wants to learn, and I have an adult who's trying to hold me down based off of my math. Now, granted, I'm not very good at math. If the truth be told, and I'll be frank with you guys, I forget my timetable sometimes. I forget them most of the time. But I can manage a multi-million-dollar budget almost down to the penny. Why? Because I have a calculator and I've got a logical brain. And so I did nothing but get A's in that class, and I've done nothing but excel in information technology ever since. I've been doing it for 30 years. So people will actually take little granules of truth and try to turn that against you to make you believe that you can't do something. The reason I was able to go into computer classes wasn't because of this counselor. It was because I told my mom what she said, and my mother was not having the racist kinds of games that was being played at my particular high school. She insisted that I be let to take these classes, and so I did, and the rest is history. There was also a time when I was well into my career, and I was studying to be what they call a Microsoft Certified Professional plus Internet. That meant that you would be able to set up networks that went out to the Internet, that you would be able to calculate MAC addresses and set up all of the machines and give them the MAC addresses and IP addresses that they needed to go out to the Internet. And it was difficult. So I was telling this guy at work that I was studying for it, and one day he walked up to me. He said, "Are you still studying for that test?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, Donna, I hate to tell you this, but you're not going to pass that test." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "Well, my manager, one of my old managers, works with this stuff all the time, and he couldn't pass the test. In fact, 60% of people fail that test. And so if he can't pass it and he works with this all the time, I'm sure you won't be able to pass it." And so sometimes people will use statistics to try to squeeze the life out of you. And I don't think he was trying to be mean like my high school counselor. In this case, I think he was trying to prepare me so that I wouldn't get my hopes up, because it was something I was trying to get into. And he knew somebody who was already in it, and he still wasn't able to get the certification. And I stood my ground. I said, "Well, you know what, Dave?" His name was Dave. I was like, so you say 60% of the people fail. He said, "Yeah, over 60% of the people fail." I said, "So about 40% of the people pass." So if 40% pass, why can't I be one of the 40%? I went on, I studied, and I'm going to tell you, from a girl who forgets her timetables, that was the hardest test I had ever taken in my life. No joke. The hardest test I had ever taken. But I passed. And from that day forward, he had nothing but ultimate respect for me. In fact, as I had one last test to take, he actually helped me. He introduced me to a guy who had more study materials that could help me with it. And so what I'm sharing with you is, don't even let people use granules of truth about you, your weaknesses, and say you can't do something. Lean to your strengths. My strength was logic. I'm a very logical person. So maybe I'm not as good at math, but my logic is what carries me, because that's my strength. Somebody's got to pass. Somebody's got to do it. Then it will be me. So don't let people use data to make you feel like you can't do something. Whether you're a woman, whether you're a minority, whatever you are, don't let people do that to you and get in your head. And my last example, so sometimes the people that are discouraging us are very close by, unfortunately. They could be your friends, they could be your parents, they could be your husband or your wife. They can even be your kids. So when I was about 10 years old, I lived in a house that was abusive. And my stepdad was a Vietnam vet, and he wasn't quite right. And so he had begun to just call me stupid and, stuff like that. And I don't care how often he called me stupid. I would say to myself, I'm not stupid. I'm smart. I'm not stupid. I'm smart. In fact, I'm smarter than you are. And of course, I couldn't say that out loud, but I would say that in my head, and I wouldn't let a time go by when he called me stupid that I would not rebuke that and say it. I don't ever let somebody say something to you and not rebuke that thing. Don't let it go unchecked in your own mind. And when you're able to get alone, you say it out loud. I'm smart. I can do this. God made me this way, and I am wonderfully made. I am talented. I am gifted. I am beautiful. Whatever it is that you have to say, you say that thing out loud so that you can hear it and you can undo what people are trying to pour into you. So I continue to say that I was smart. And, sometimes we are in places where, maybe you're a woman who has an abusive husband who says you're fat, or you're a loser, or you're ugly, or you'll never be able to stand on your own 2 feet. Or maybe you're a younger person and your parents are telling you you'll never amount to anything, or somebody in your family is telling you you'll never amount to anything. In your mind, you undo it. Every single time. You don't let anyone tell you anything that you can't do, and let that go unchecked, because what'll happen is it'll start to settle in your mind, and it'll start to grow and grow, and pretty soon you'll start to believe the stories that other people tell you about you. And so that's why that type of story is very dangerous. It's one of the most dangerous stories of all. And so if you like this story, I hope it's encouraged you. I'm not trying to tell you anything super fantastic. What I'm trying to share with people are things that we know in our heart. Maybe we're so busy on this gerbil wheel every day, hitting that grind, that sometimes we forget what we know, and we need to be reminded of our greatness. We need to be reminded of techniques and things that maybe our mom taught us, or things we just know in our heart but forget to do and forget to tell ourselves, because we're just so beat down sometimes, or just so busy that we can't think. And so my goal is to just share with you things that you would enjoy, things that will help you through the day, and things that will speak to you. And so until we meet each other again, I just want to say to stay strong, to seek knowledge, speak truth, and most of all, be of service to someone else. And if you like these stories, please follow me on BassetteSolutions.com or Bassette Solutions on pretty much any of the social media where we have a family of companies. I'm also an author, you guys, so if you want to buy any of my books, they're on DawsonTwins.com. Thank you. Be blessed. Bye-bye.